program. So thank you all for joining us. My name is Emily Jones. I'm with Local Initiative Support Corporation, one of the three founding partners of the STAR program, which is Solar Technical Assistance Retrofit Program. And really, let me give the overview. So we'll just give some introductions of the three partners, and then just share a little bit about the STAR program so far and where we want it to head for phase 2 and how you can participate. So we'll hold lots of time for questions at the end. So we've already done this, but would love to hear a little bit about people's motivation for getting more into solar. We know that some organizations here already are engaging in solar, and then some you might be new to solar on your portfolio. So we want to make sure that everyone is feeling welcome, and we can share, technical information about solar and how you can get involved so that we can really scale it across all affordable housing in Massachusetts. So just to give a little background on LISC, one of the partners. So for those who don't know it, Local Initiative Support Corporation, we're a community development organization. What we do is we partner with local communities to really try to create thriving communities of economic opportunity. We do this through investing in affordable housing, small businesses, and individuals with financial opportunity, different opportunities to build wealth. And so we're really excited because we know that solar is one way that affordable housing owners can help save money and then direct those savings to their residents and have additional services on site. So we think it's all part of this equation to encourage great communities to live, work, and play. So MACDC, Don Bianchi is here from MACDC this morning, and Neha Chinwala is their climate intern. And so MACDC is one of the lead partners. They're an association of community development corporations. Many of you are CDC members, so you know. And really they're trying to create places of opportunity where people of diverse backgrounds and incomes can access housing that's affordable. They can benefit from economic opportunities, and they can fully participate in civic life. And so they really have a truly high performance, engaged community development sector that they're helping support capacity building and investing in those partners such as yourselves. So just a little bit more on the STAR program. We together, MACDC and LISC, with the Resonant Energy, our solar partner here, have launched the STAR program. And really it was designed to provide affordable housing owners with the financial and technical resources to think about how you take solar on into your portfolio, right? How you do on-site solar primarily. And we're really excited to have you all join us because we think, this is the time to engage in this, and a lot of the barriers that we've seen Resonant and in partnership with other affordable housing owners and through the STAR program has helped to overcome those barriers and identify financing and technical solutions for those. So we're excited to share those with you. And just a little bit more about the campaign and where we are so far. The first phase of the campaign was 15 organizations. We are now inviting another 15 organizations to join us. And the goal is 3 megawatts total of solar installed. So it's a lot of solar. It's really helping all of the owners who are engaged to think about how they can do portfolio-wide solar, not just maybe on one building, but on several buildings. And we are obviously prioritizing CDCs, but open to affordable housing organizations broadly, statewide. So we definitely want geographic diversity, and we're so happy that we have representation here from all over, from Springfield to Boston and Lowell to New Bedford. So very excited to work with you all. We do provide small grants, like around $2,000 in staff time support, because we know it takes some time for your team to work with resident to think through, to provide some of the information, the technical details that that they'll need to analyze and figure out if solar is right for which properties and when. And then just to give you a sense, this is where we are so far. We're at about 60% to 1 megawatt of installed solar, which was our original goal for phase one. And so we're really excited. We have 4 organizations who have already signed on to move forward. They've received the analyses and they're going to install. And that's the neighborhood developers in Chelsea, Housing Nantucket, let's see who else. We have LCW, Lawrence Community Works, and then Alston Brighton Community Development Corporation. So very excited, and more to come right around the corner from our other first 15 organizations. So just a couple photos of, these are some of the leaders that really inspired the first phase of STAR, and their Somerville Community Corporation, and then you can see South Boston, NDC as well. These these organizations both worked with Resonant to install the solar. And then you can see in our first slide was Madison Park, who did a large portfolio-wide installation with Resonant. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Madeline Barr from Resonant Energy, to give more information about Resonant and then talk more about some of the technical details of STAR and what we'll do in the program with you. So thank you. Maddie?
Yeah, great. Great to see so many people. My name is Madeline. I am a VP of Outreach and Sales and a co-founder at Resonant Energy. Personally, my background is in energy efficiency, solar, electric vehicles, different community-wide clean energy adoption campaigns. And we started Resonant Energy with the goal of expanding access to clean energy, and specifically with organizations and communities that had been traditionally underrepresented in the clean energy movement. And so we are based in Boston. We actually got our start in that church that you see pictured here, that second church in Dorchester and Codman Square. And we work throughout Massachusetts and parts of New York. And our focus is on working with multifamily homes, affordable housing organizations. We do a lot of work also with faith-based organizations and schools. And so what we focus on is on how to bring in impact capital, mission-aligned loans to be able to give organizations both the financial and technical expertise to explore solar in a way that meets their priorities as well as their financial constraints. We can go to the next slide. And this is just a sample of some of the organizations that Emily just spoke to, but some of the organizations that we worked with that were really kind of the inspiration for STAR Phase 1 and now STAR Phase 2 is Madison Park Development Corporation, which did a portfolio install of 15 of their buildings around downtown Boston area, Somerville Community Corporation, South Boston, NDC. And then we also worked with the New York Housing Authority in New York City to do a review of 35 buildings. A lot of these are flat roofs. So if you're walking underneath them, you may not see the panels, but you'll just know that there's a great expansion of clean energy. So I included this slide just to make sure we're on the same page about some of the technical details. So when we do a solar installation, when really anyone does a solar installation, the panels will go, unless it's a parking lot install, but they'll go on the roof just like this. And the panels are secured to the roof through a metal racking system. And that's what really holds them to the building And then the panels are locked into that metal racking system. And then you can see going along the side of the roof, a conduit connects to a piece of equipment called the inverter. And that converts the energy from the power that is coming right from the panels into a usable current for your house's appliances and also to export back to the grid. And this, if anyone here has solar on their home or knows people who have solar on their home, this is generally what it looks like. You're connected to the grid. You've got the power going right into your building. But when we're working with multifamily homes, maybe the power is feeding a common meter, or we have multiple utility accounts because we have multiple apartments. And so part of the questions that we are answering through this campaign is, well, how do we set up solar when there's sort of a non-traditional housing setup or multiple units under one roof? And so a little bit just about some of the specifics with affordable housing that we are really motivated and working with our partners like LISC and MACDC to tackle with this campaign is some of the unique complexities. And I think, a major reason why solar in Massachusetts has really taken off with single family homes and utility scale. And what our goal is with this campaign is to really help put affordable housing organizations that are doing such important community serving work at the center of the clean energy initiative in Massachusetts. And so first is just we understand that affordable housing has complex and unique legal structures, that to get solar or other improvements moved through the project phase, that there has to be approval from tax equity and multiple lenders. And that process takes time and legal negotiation. Also, with a lot of our affordable housing clients, there's multiple stakeholders that we're working with, teams, project managers and asset managers and property management companies, in addition to some of the lenders and tax equity. And sometimes for some of the new construction, there's more cooks in the kitchen with architects and engineers and folks who are helping design a new building. And per my previous slide, these buildings are just more complex when you don't have just one meter per building, but you have multiple meters per building. You have different types of use. You have different requirements in all different kind of buildings. And though a lot of our partners are building new buildings in the city, also a lot of our partners own some of the oldest building stock in the city of Boston and in Worcester and New Bedford and our other and the other cities we're working in, that might need electrical upgrades or structural upgrades because when they were built 100 years ago, they weren't built with solar in mind. So the buildings themselves need a lot of sort of retrofit work and evaluation. Multiple stages of development we added in here because we understand too that in exploring solar, there's wherever the building might be in its renovations, or there might be other projects going on, and that what we seek to do is be able to provide the project management teams with the organizations, the tools to factor solar in early in that process, so that you don't get to the end of the budget and realize that there's no space for solar. Or if you're expecting that to be the case, we can help work with some different no-cost options. And then, of course, just the timeline that we have built into our process, the compatibility with your timelines as well, recognizing the different stages of approval and designs that are being taken into account. So what we do and what we're seeking to offer with this campaign is what we refer to as a portfolio analysis. So I'll provide just sort of an overview of kind of what that process looks like. Our first stage is that we'll look at your buildings, whether it's 5 buildings or 55 buildings, just to see how many panels can physically fit on your building. We'll look at shading from trees, shading from other buildings. Is it a flat roof? Is it a slanted roof? Just how many panels can fit and what your expected kilowatt hour production might look like. Onto that, then we add another layer of analysis to look at how is energy used in that building. Do you have a common meter? Do you pay for the power for all of your tenants? Are some of those units affordable? Are some of them market rate? Is it a commercial space or residential space? So we then look at how is power used in that building to optimize what size of an array we want to build on that roof to provide the greatest benefit to the organization. And then the third layer on top of that is evaluating the different incentives and financing options that are available to you. So there's like actually dozens of different solar policies and different incentive structures for solar in Massachusetts. And so our analysis team are experts in these different policies, and we'll compare side by side, sometimes between 10 and 15 different scenarios to see what will give your organization the best financial benefit. And then we work with our different financing partners and impact lenders to be able to provide to you at least 2 different financial options to pursue solar. Usually one that's no cost, and usually one that is some type of ownership option. This slide we'll share out to make sure you have it as a resource. The main takeaways I want to offer from this slide are just that this is a taste of some of the financial outcomes that we'll look at and put in these portfolio reviews. But we have a couple different no-cost options. The power purchase agreement, what is referred to as a PPA, is often the most common. You don't pay anything up front for the solar, and you just buy power at a discounted rate from those panels. So you're not responsible for long-term maintenance or long-term insurance on the equipment. You just get guaranteed long-term discounts. A site lease or a community solar is more common with much larger sites. If you have a parking lot, we would definitely consider a site lease for that, where you would get all the power would be set up as community solar. So go to potentially your electric bill, potentially other subscribers, potentially we have some community solar projects that we've made eligible to low-income residents. And then the organization, whoever is renting that space, gets a lease payment for doing that. And then the prepaid PPA is a cool option that we'll look at for a lot of organizations because it allows you to essentially own most of the revenue coming off of the solar. So a lot of that, all of the electricity production. And we work with a third-party financer that offers you a pretty large upfront discount between 20 to 30% in exchange for that federal investment tax credit. And then there's direct ownership, which is if you are working with a tax eligible partner, you can monetize the tax incentives directly. So all of that, when we speak one-on-one and evaluate your organization's buildings and electricity use, we will come up with a recommendation of which financing will make the most sense. And this is just also a quick sample from Somerville Community Corporation that retrofitted 16 buildings. They did 7 prepaid PPAs, so 7 of that sort of hybrid ownership, 6 PPA, 6 no cost, and then 3 direct purchase. So they really wanted to test out all of the types of legal contracts, but meaning that they had different buildings with different needs, and we were able to meet that. So their lifetime savings were $887,000. We were able to help them raise some grants for roof replacements. They were able to receive a philanthropic solar loan, replace some roofs, and generated 7.6 million kilowatt hours of solar electricity over the 25-year term. So really, we talk so much now just about the savings, but the environmental impact is huge. Nearly 6,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent taken out of the air in the long term. So for next steps, the application period is open. So you can submit a brief application on the LISC website through November 15th. And then in mid-December, probably around December 15th, we will announce the next group of organizations that are selected for the program and for the grant. And then over the first few months of the year, we'll schedule kickoff calls to understand some of your organization's priorities, do introductions, meet the other decision makers on your team. and then begin doing the financial analysis, looking at your electric bills, looking at your use, and then reviewing those portfolio in detail. I think that's about it for the content. We'll switch to Q&A, but yeah, really excited to see so many organizations on here, and really excited to have seen such enthusiasm for phase one. I think we weren't sure about doing a phase two initially, but we're really glad to see that there was so much more interest in continuing the program. So I will pause and see if there are any questions in the chat. But as questions come up, please drop them in, and we'll take some time now.
Great. Thank you, Madeline. And let's see, I don't think we have any questions yet, but would anyone like to start? Let's see. I see, and feel free. I think folks can unmute if you have a question or ask to unmute. So feel free to raise your hand or throw it into the chat with any questions. And we also, if you think of questions later, feel free to email me. I will throw my email in the chat, or any of us on the team. But we're happy to answer questions via email and or give us a call. And it's open. It's a pretty short application. We already have some folks who have submitted. It's just a Google form, wanting to get a sense of your properties, how many units, what they look like. Thank you, Alma. And so if you have any questions about filling that out, feel free to reach out, but it should be pretty straightforward. Yes, Joseph Boyle, I see your hand.
Hi, I have a question.
Go for it.
I noticed that one of your one of the models for solar involves having the investor take advantage of the tax credits. Our organization does a lot of affordable housing construction using LIHTCs, so we have investors who are interested in tax credits. Has anyone put those two things together and gotten an investor that wanted both sets? And what's useful for us to know about that? About how that works.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yeah, so we included that with exactly that scenario in mind. Yeah, so thank you for raising that, Joseph. Yeah, and the short answer is it can work, and it's fairly complicated. But we have put together different spreadsheets to help if the LIHTC investor, depending how familiar they are with the solar tax credits, to sort of help them understand how that would flow, what their benefit would be, and then a recommendation for how they could share some of that savings with the organization. So that is something that we've explored, and could get into the weeds on it, in another conversation. But yeah, we have had some organizations pursue that model when they were either doing for a new building or in the process of doing a refinance, where they were getting additional tax credits for that work.
If I could ask, have you had any partners in a community that's got a municipal gas and electric department that's potentially a limitation in accessing a lot of the incentives that are out of there in my past experience?
Yeah, it is a limitation. We have done some work with solar in municipalities. Certain municipalities are more familiar and open to solar than others. The main challenge is I think, as you noted, one of the big incentives for solar, the SMART incentive, is only available in Eversource and National Grid territory. And also a lot of municipalities either don't allow or the financing isn't favorable enough to attract third-party financing, which would leave a lot of organizations having to either get a grant or a philanthropic loan to pay for the solar. So it does pose a very real challenge working with municipal light districts.
Okay. Is it a large enough challenge that it should be something I think twice about before applying?
What could I ask what town you're in?
Holyoke.
Holyoke. Yeah, I think so. It's
Okay.
we could also talk, we could have a brief conversation about it. And I think, yeah, essentially the organization would have to be prepared either, to seek out additional grant funding for the solar. But I think I can say fairly confidently that third-party financing, some of the no-cost options would not be available in Holyoke or other municipal electric companies.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? It's also early. It's like a Monday morning coming back from the long weekend. So Holyoke, yeah. This is good information for LISC and MACDC and Resonant as well. I think just to give some context on the STAR program as well. Part of our hope is that through this program, we can identify those barriers and challenges, and we can support policy advocacy efforts that can, make these issues better. So for instance, for the municipal light plant communities, it's something that we definitely want to hear about and then lift up to our Department of Energy Resources, DPU, Mass Clean Energy Center, the powers that be, to identify how we solve this for affordable housing to participate. So thank you, Michael. For sharing that, and happy to continue that conversation and advocate for better policy.
Absolutely. Madeline, I'll send you a note so we can connect offline. And, I do actually work with our gas and electric quite a bit, so I'm happy to carry it forward, at least in that context.
Great. Yeah, I just threw my email. In the chat. Yeah, thank you, Michael.
Any other questions or comments, ideas? We really appreciate all of the interest, and it's great. Yeah, Paul, go ahead.
I have a question. We're a kind of a small rural developer, and so we have projects that are as small as 2 or 3 units. Our biggest building has 15 units in it, and I'm just wondering, how much of a deterrent that is to try to do anything when, I don't know if we can aggregate properties into one financial package, or if we'd be doing 3 units here, 4 units there, that kind of thing. And I know this would probably come out in the analysis, but since we have time, I thought I would ask it now.
Yeah, I can speak to that. And it's a good question. So what is the way we look at the analysis? What is the number of units is less important, but definitely the size of the roof is important. So we do aim to aggregate these projects and get, some economies of scale that make it more affordable to build for a selected installer, and also more attractive to a third-party financer. But that said, if the roofs are too small, there is a kilowatt threshold. If the roofs are too small or sometimes too shaded as well, that those tend to be some of the bigger sort of feasibility barriers. So it's definitely, I think, worth looking at, and we could take a quick look at the addresses if there's a concern that they're too small, and sort of advise from there.
Others? We know that there's a fair amount of CDCs who are, Paul, like you're doing, acquiring smaller scattered site portfolios, and we want to, think about how we help those properties access solar. And I think in our current phase, Madeline, we have a few. I think Worcester Community Housing Resources that's engaging with us right now has some smaller sites. I think NOAA may have had some smaller sites that we're analyzing. So we don't want it to be off the table. We know that that's very important affordable housing that is, oftentimes older housing stock really needs to have this in energy efficiency and clean energy investments in it. So I think let's continue the conversation, and thank you for putting in an application. We'll review for sure.
Thank
Any
you.
others? Yeah, of course. We've solved all of the questions, all of the problems. Well, if there are no more questions, we can probably close out early, and please reach out to us if you have any issues on the Google form that's right on the website that I shared. Again, it's very, it's pretty straightforward, just getting a sense of your properties, what your, what your goals are with solar, sharing just some of the background information that we'll need to help us identify the participants for this round too. But we really hope you consider joining us, and we're also we'll get you on future opportunities like our energy cohort if folks have other want to continue to be engaged with some of the energy efficiency and clean energy technical assistance and other support that LISC and MACDC and some of our other partners are doing. So thank you all, and hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.